Hello, hello, hello. Hello, my Hope More family. Hello, and happy Hope Day. Ain't no humps around here. It is Wednesday, and it is time for a new Hope More thought and elevation. I just want you to get on, share, like on Facebook Live. And if you are one of my YouTubers, go ahead and click on the bell so that you would be notified of when I come on. I'm coming on about an hour later than I normally would on Wednesdays, but I am here and I am ready to share with you. So I need you to take your phone like this, go ahead and share, share, share. And if you're seeing me on the replay, hello and happy Hope Day. So glad you joined us or join me. I say join us because there's other people who will be following who are part of the Hope More family. And again, you know what? This is Hope More. It's lowercase HOPE, uppercase MORE, one word, because you only need a little bit of hope to want more, to make a more prominent step in what you want out of life. So that's why I hope more is spelled that way. So come on, come on, come on. We're going to be talking about something that I think is such a good conversation to be having, not just with your children, but with your adult friends, because you know what? There seems to be a lesson that's missing that you would think people learned as a child, but maybe not. Maybe there is more of a need to talk about not being a sore loser, not being a sore loser, and stop being a liar. Just stop it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And this world, it seems there's a lot of competing interests, and there are those who defeated and lost, are in a loss, and yet they're upset because they didn't win. And instead of regrouping and strategizing for victory, they're pouting all over the place. And some in a way that could be very dangerous for this nation, for our states, for our local governments. And then there are people who now that have lost are now lying about it, lying, oh, we needed more this, or this was given away, acting as if someone stole something from you. And I just want to talk a little bit today and just encourage you to stop being a sore loser and a liar. Stop it. Stop being a sore loser and a liar. Let me tell you. And I think about opportunities in my life as a young adult or a kid, and also as an older adult, when I have lost something I really wanted, when I lost something I really felt I deserved. How have I responded? And I haven't always been perfect. And then I think about other times that people have been very sore losers to something that I tried to, some victory I was trying to gain. And I was thought of, and it sounds really simple, but to me, it's a lesson that I think a lot of adults could glean from. I remember when I was in seventh grade, going to eighth grade, I I threw my hat in the election for student council president. And that for me was a big old deal. I used my name, Vote Today for Hope Tomorrow. And I convinced a number of my friends to run. And we end up having basically a president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary who all end up being people of color. And that was the first time I understood in the history of student council that happened. And that was just like even, cream on top. And all of a sudden, we're hearing that a party is being thrown in the cafeteria because of the election. But this is the catch: the party was for the losers in the election. One of the people who ran against me, who did not win, and I don't know exactly how everything came to be, but convinced the school to throw a party for the losers. And I just remember thinking, God is so ridiculous. Why would you spend resources, even the cafeteria, to celebrate those who did not win? At least acknowledge the people who won, right? And that for me was like the first thought when I thought of a sore loser. My dad, mom, and different people got involved. And so they end up throwing it for everyone who ran. But I was just like, it's fine to show support to those who have not been victorious, but do we ignore or find ways to try to shame or illegitimate, is that a word? Illegitimate? Make illegitimate the win of other people. So that was one of the thoughts that I had. And I was like, you know what? I just want to ask everybody, how do you stop being a sore loser and liar? Like, and I say these statements so strongly, loser and liar. Let's not say this is a permanent condition, but you find yourself having not been successful at something you tried to have. How do you stop being a sore loser? Have you ever been a sore loser? I have. I have. And how have you expressed it? Now that you've gone through those different patterns, what type of things have you learned about being a sore loser that sometimes can prompt you to lie? Have you learned anything? I have. So I want to talk today quickly about 7 ways to just stop it. 7 ways to just stop it. You know, none of this is stuff you've never heard before, but I do think as adults in this culture, we need to start thinking about what is happening in our culture where people who are defeated will now be sore and they're losing, dangerous and destructive, even sabotaging for people who are coming in, and then lying about it. I just think it's so dangerous, but it doesn't stop or start at the top. Often it starts amongst just what you teach your children. So I read this article about from Anne Morin, a licensed counselor, where she talks about these 7 things for children. So I adapted them for adults, but I find that, I think it's very, very helpful to look at. So it's 7 ways to stop it, being a sore loser and liar. 1, recognize your own effort. It is really okay once you put in a really good fight to be like, kudos, that was really great. Your agenda, your platform, your idea was really superb. And you may even say, like, the judges or the voters or whoever's in decision making made the wrong decision, but that doesn't take away from how well you did and presented. So it's okay to recognize and praise your own efforts. I mean, if you have a child, you recognize and praise your child's efforts if they lost. That is fine. That is actually very, very healthy. So do that. But another way that we deal with losing and stopping it is to show and model good sportsmanship. Model good sportsmanship. I mean, literally, do it publicly. When you see football players coming and say, good game, good game, good game, good game. How many documentaries have, and how many commentators have often spoken negatively when people are not able to show that type of sportsmanship, where they're so mad and they're so in their feelings. And so I think, we have to remember again that it's bigger than the one contest. We're doing the game of life, and it's good to model good sportsmanship. It's not only good for 5-year-olds playing soccer, it's good for adults too, especially very powerful adults. What's wrong with modeling good sportsmanship? I tell you, when I ran for Miss Spelman College in 1990, and I came up first runner-up, and the queen won. There was a part of the situation that I was not happy with. Like, I really was like, this was unfair because my name that I went in my election with was Hope. Everything was like the virtue of hope, the voice of hope, Hope Dents. And when they put my name on the ballot, they put Sharita Dents. And unless you knew my first name, there were a lot of people who said, I didn't see your name on the ballot. And there was another contestant named Sharice, whose name was sort of similarly spelled at the beginning. And it confused a lot of people, and they changed where the vote was. And I was like, you know what? This has been set up for me. But you know what you did not hear me say publicly was anything but congratulations to the queen, because I learned this third point: explore my feelings privately. And in the case of what I was just talking about, it's like, okay, what was not fair? What could be done about it? Or what may have sabotaged, or what I feel was my chances. Like, I explored that privately or with my closest girlfriend. I didn't get on board there was no internet back then. I didn't get posting on my Facebook, but explore your feelings privately. Everything is not for public consumption. Literally, have whatever feelings you want to have. This was unfair. This is stupid. That person shouldn't have won. But publicly, model good sportsmanship. And this is not an act of hypocrisy. It actually shows a sign of maturity. Maturity says that the people politic or the group or the organization or the company that's involved and the importance of that company has greater interest than just your own particular issue. And what I'm finding is it doesn't seem like people are considering the whole, the group politic. They're just making waves because they feel they're entitled to win, or whatever is happening, they're now claiming they're a victim. And I just feel like if they explored their feelings privately and gave some space to it, even if they had a question or a concern or a desire or a recount or reconsideration, because they model good sportsmanship and because they dealt with some of their edgier feelings privately, they'll come out more reputable, more mature, and more advantageous to the process versus just, what about me? What about me? I'm entitled. I'm supposed to win. Are you 5 years old? Number 4, manage your anger strategically. Now, every time you lose, you don't necessarily lie. Every time you lose, you don't necessarily have anger. Maybe you're just really sad, or maybe you're angry, or your anger is really just sadness in disguise. You need to be strategic, okay? You have to go manage it. I talked about dealing with feelings privately. What makes this different is that you can lose, accept that defeat, and be angry about what happened to it, but deal with your anger strategically. What can you get out of this circumstance and situation that'll make things better, not just for you, but maybe even beyond you, for the person behind you, for the group you're dealing with? Let's deal with the tale of two governor candidates. In 2018, in Georgia, we had a state representative named Stacey Abrams who ran for governor. In Florida, that same year, we had a mayor, Andrew Gillum, who ran for governor of the state of Florida. They both had a very, very close governor race, and both were defeated. Both were defeated. When I talk about managing your anger strategically, let's look at the tale of two governor candidates. Now, Stacey Abrams did concede that the outcome did not go in her favor. She did, as she had been for months, because of over 50,000 voter registrations being suspended the month before election, and then she loses by about 50,000. So she wanted to follow up on credible issues that were already in the court. She didn't come up with some new fly by night. But don't you think she had a right to be angry? But she dealt with it strategically. So after she put all those people and processes in place, she describes herself as going into 10 days of Shiva, and then she came out with a plan. She used her anger strategically, and 2 years later, it's because of her efforts largely that the state of Georgia has gone from red to blue for the first time since President Clinton. So she used her anger strategically. Now, let's look at the other governor candidate, Andrew Gillum. And I know Stacey personally, I don't know Andrew Gillum personally, but I want to say through his own admission, he did not use his anger and disappointment strategically. Or let's say it was strategic, but it hurt him, not help him. He describes being embarrassed. He describes taking on a lifestyle of drinking and drinking privately and partying with the wrong people. He ends up being found in a hotel, passed out, I believe, in his own vomit. Inside the hotel, there were male prostitute and drugs, I think meth. And although he said he was not doing meth at the time, it really brought, as you can imagine, a host of shame, not just for him, for his wife and his children. And later, he's been on sort of like a comeback tour in explaining that, he had challenges or secrecy and addiction and his sexuality. And he dealt with things in a non-effective way. Anger management is not just the idea of you keeping from hitting and knocking someone out, but I think if you learn to manage your anger strategically, let it be like the energy behind your cells to make you say, you know what? I think that this is wrong and I think this wasn't fair, but life isn't fair and no one owes you anything. So how do I regroup? Do your Shiva if you have to, mourn your loss, but take your anger, refuel it into some type of energy that will help you win the next time or help people win, the process win. So I will forever be so full of admiration for what Stacey Abrams did because I think she's a great example of a person who refused to be a sore loser and became strategic. Now, this next one, number 5, do not insist that you won or would have won. In the Anne Morin particular 7 points of advice for children, she was like, don't let your children win. Have you ever had a situation, and I know it's happened to me, I've been told as a child winning different contests, and maybe it's my second time or third time winning, or maybe I won other things during that particular event, and I've been told, you actually won, but you won so much, you mind if we let so-and-so win? And there are parts of it I appreciate because I learned you can be a winner and not get the championship award, right? But in a negative part, it's like, you can be the best, but still someone else can come out. And I don't think it helps someone to let them win if they didn't earn it. It's the wrong message. So when I say do not insist that you've won or you would have won, because not only does that perpetuate you being a bad loser, it also often causes you to lie. Because now you're creating all these circumstances that, if we had more time, if we had more of this, if we didn't allow this, and it's like, what is going on? Why do you feel so entitled? And let me tell you, if someone tells you, I'm going to win, and if I don't win, that means that they cheated, that is a self-fulfilling prophecy that afterwards they say, well, they must have cheated. And if you don't have any proof, and in fact, it shows that no proof is available that anything bad or anything widespread fraudulent happened, what are you doing to the whole process or the body politic? You are harming them. You are hurting them. It's so irresponsible. And worse yet, it's dangerous. It is dangerous, especially when you're talking about an election. It is dangerous because people take that and run with it. And, civil wars in countries have happened because of less. So we have to be very careful not to insist that we've won or we would have won or that we did win, but they just stole it from us, unless you have real proof. And even that, if you go through the steps I'm talking about, being good sportsman like, right? And then dealing with yourself privately and being strategic, that strategy can include, say, in the last elections, a request for recount, a request for review. But that next point that I'm about to go over, when you start doing that, you lose all credibility, especially with me. And I think with most Americans, because we understand that in a contest, there has to be a winner and a loser. And sometimes who you think is going to win loses, and the opposite can happen. So this next one, come on now. Avoid throwing temper tantrums. I told you Anne Marin in this article is talking to parents teaching their children, but you got to teach a 5-year-old who lost their soccer game that you can't throw the ball, get on your face or your back and wind up your arms and hit everybody. Adults may not do that, but adults' temper tantrums can be much more harmful. Adult temper tantrums can lead to people losing their jobs. It can lead to military action. It can lead to money being gone. You want to divorce a spouse, and the spouse temper tantrum may be, taking all the money out of the account. Avoid throwing temper tantrums. And I know it's hard, especially if you feel like you really should have won, or you were the best, or you really feel like you cannot prove malfeasance, but it really happened. It's hard not to throw a temper tantrum, even as an adult. But the truth of it is, that's a sign of maturity. That's a sign of a civilized society. We no longer go around bashing people's heads against the door because we don't like what they say or do, aren't we? So it's about you as much as it is about anybody else. When you put in the fact in your mind that I'm going to avoid a temper tantrum, it helps you from being a sore loser. And it really helps you from sort of lying to yourself and making yourself a victim. And the last point, how to stop it, practice winning graciously. Practice winning graciously. I'm all about winners. Celebrate, be excited, but I do think it's very classless to be like, nah, 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 as an adult. You're lost, you lose, you're a loser. Your mama said you're a loser. She dresses you funny and you're ugly. Literally, sometimes adults do the adult equivalent, right? Equivalent to you dress funny with people who lose or defeated, especially if there's a lot of animosity. But listen, God reigns on the just and the unjust. Today, you may be up. Tomorrow, you may be down. And when you learn how to win graciously, which is being appreciative of the opportunity to be successful in that moment or have victory from that event, but it could be different in the next contest. It could have been different in the past. It actually shows a level of maturity, and you can handle victory. Do you know some people can't handle victory? Some people cannot handle victory because when they get it, it goes to their head. They become abusive in power. And I'm definitely not one to think that, you know, that just because you have power and money and opportunity, that in and of itself will corrupt you. I think if you're a corrupt individual, money and power only gives you a greater platform to do that and to be corrupt. So stop it. Stop being a sore loser and a liar. And I know I've talked more about being a sore loser, but I think sore losers start lying. They start lying to cover up or to try to garner sympathy of their defeat. And we got to stop being sore losers. We cannot allow that to just permeate through society. It's like, it's okay now. Let's go back to pre-kindergarten where we could barely use the toilet by ourselves and act like undisciplined little brats. We don't want to be that. We want to elevate above the disappointment and strategically go for that thing again. And now I know there's some who feel so strongly that they are almost the messiah of a group or organization, a nation. And if they're not in a place of power, position, or influence, that it has to be something wrong. And they'll use any means or method to gain that goal. And I'm talking particularly to believers right now. I want you to show me anywhere in the Bible where God blessed and it was his heart and desire for people to win a goal through deception and lies. I just challenge you to show me that is, if you're in a democratic process, who votes you in is how you determine the winner. You can't sort of say, well, I believe the goal is this or this person to win or be victorious, so we'll do whatever we do. Manipulation, lies, unfounded, accusations to get to that point. That's not how our system works. I don't think that's how the system should work. And I just ask that as adults, we start thinking better about some of those lessons we learned the first time we were on a soccer team, right? Don't be a sore loser and don't be a liar. And I think if we think about that, like literally remind ourselves of those lessons, our entire nation would be better for it. This is Hope Dems. I love you and I mean it. I want you to go out and be victorious. And if you find yourself losing, just understand that's temporary. You can be strategic and find victory again. Let's elevate above disappointment. You guys, I love you. I got some comments I want to say shout out to. Hey, Chandria. Yes, girl, tantrums. Never, never. Stop throwing them tantrums. And let me tell you a little secret with no additional cost as I close. The Bible says that if you argue with a fool, you become foolish. Don't waste a lot of your time arguing with people who claim they believe a lie and you know that they know it's a lie. Then you become foolish and you spending all this time and energy trying to say what's obviously a lie or trying to argue against someone who wants to believe the lie. The Bible says that a fool is wise when they're even silent. So just let it go. Because if you are into that much self-deception or that person's in that much self-deception, there's nothing you're going to do or say to convince them. Just elevate. Yes, Janelle, we are in the season of elevation. We got to elevate amongst the craziness. We have to elevate because it will cause you to be crazy. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Hope Day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.